So, hello and welcome to Hewale, a web series about the environment and sustainable management of our environment. Now, today we're focusing on a continuing debate about what's happening to our public spaces. And we have two very important guests on the program today. The first one is Mr. Chapman Owusu Sechere, the Deputy Director of the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. We also have with us Madam Aula Sewa, the founder and coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, an organization aimed at fighting for environmental justice in Ghana. Let me begin this discussion by first asking what exactly is the structure of the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, which I understand is intended to decentralize planning and to bring planning closer to the citizens?
The Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority is an offshoot from the former Town and Country Planning Department. The department operated in Ghana for some time, but at a point, the authorities decided to decentralize the former Town and Country Planning Department to be in line with the government decentralization agenda. So in doing so, the head office was retained as the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority to be in charge, to be responsible for the development of policies, standards, and guidelines, which will guide the practice at the district level. So all those offices the former Town and Country Planning used to have now have been decentralized and be part of the district. So now, the former offices that operated at the district level, because Town and Country Planning is no more, they are now called Physical Planning Department, and they are planning authorities operating at the district assemblies.
Mr. Owusu Sechere, that the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority has a very pivotal role in the way we live and affects every single Ghanaian, in that the Act 925, which establishes LUSPA, says that the authority is to provide for sustainable development of land and human settlements through a decentralized planning system, ensure judicious use of land, and enhance the attainment of Ghana's decentralization program for district assemblies to better perform the spatial planning and human settlement management functions. So how is this very fundamental role working out on the ground?
Okay, there are several ways through which LUSPA is to ensure judicious use of land and also the attainment of Ghana's decentralization policy. One way is the preparation of spatial plans. The way our structure works is that we need to have a broader spatial plan which will give guidelines to the smaller ones. So what we've done right now is to prepare a national spatial development framework, which is one of our plans, which looks at a 20-year period, which is a strategic vision on how activities are supposed to be organized in space. And based on that, all the regions are supposed to prepare their national spatial development framework, which will also guide the structure plan, and from there to the local plan. So in a way, the authority gives guidelines to the units, the lower units, so that it will guide them to prepare their spatial plans. That is one way we do that. Then other guidelines like the manuals for the preparation of spatial plans, how to organize the committee meetings, spatial planning committee meetings, all these things the authority is mandated to do to help the district assemblies to better perform their spatial planning functions.
What do you think is the cause of the apparent disconnect between the plans as laid out and what we experience in reality?
I think one of the reasons might be that nobody knows where the plans are. When I say nobody knows where they are, I'm sure Mr. Chapman knows very well where they are, but I'm talking about the general public. In other places, or I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. If I were to go to LUPSA, because I've been on the website a short while ago, if I was to go on the website, will I see the plans, which are supposed to be guidance to the regions? So I think that one way of people taking cognizance of what is there is to know what is there. The second thing is that where people decide to put up structures which don't conform to any sensible city, nothing is done. The authorities seem very slow in responding, and they wait till the structure has been completely, or you might see stop work and then nothing happens. So these are some of the reasons I can see. First of all, lack of availability of the plans for everybody to see, consultations, broad consultations involving not just statutory stakeholders, but all stakeholders, so people can buy into it and understand what is going on. And second of all, the laissez-faire attitude that we see with the authorities just standing idly by whilst builders and contractors do what they like.
Yes, I agree with Madam that our plans are not that visible. People don't see our plans, and we've also realized that. So in the new act, there's something new that we call public data room that should be created in all district assemblies, so that plans that are approved, copies are lodged in the public data room. Even applications, because if you live in a community where the next day you see people digging around your building, you don't know what is taking place there, you should be concerned. So every application that is approved, a copy should be kept at the public data room. But you see, this act is not that old. It was created in 2016. So it's being implemented gradually. And as we are speaking now, some of the district assemblies have created the public data room, even though I must admit that not all district assemblies have done that. So this is to cure the transparencies so as to ensure that the plans are available to the general public and they can go to, as long as it's not a holiday, you can just walk into the district assembly and demand to know the plan for your community and the provisions in the plan.
Now, before we go to some...
Then when it comes...
Sorry, go on.
Yes, development control is to ensure that what has been approved in the plan is actually what is being implemented in space. And that one is the responsibility of the district assemblies. The law has to ensure that whatever is approved in the scheme is also implemented on the ground.
So let's now think about a specific case that might locate the structures and the laws in a more realistically for us. Let's take the case of the park at Cantonments. This is a beautiful park. Awolasawa, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the park.
I'm sure Mr. Chapman is aware of Parks and Gardens at Cantonments. We know that lands were acquired in 1961 by President Kwame Nkrumah, and it was supposed to be for parks and gardens for the city of Accra, and there were so many reasons: beautification, and also research to find out the value of the plants and so on and so forth, tree planting exercises, and it was supposed to be a pilot for other regions. And we found out in 2019 that there was an application to rezone Parks and Gardens area from Green Civic, what it is now is Green Civic, to exclusively Civic. So we actually attended the meeting, and we complained about the consultation because it was only open to statutory organizations, highways, environmental protection authority, those are the people you're talking about, but nobody outside these, nobody else was invited apart. And I think that is completely wrong, because rezoning the area would obviously have an impact on residents, on the schools. And lo and behold, actually, the application has now been approved. Now, nobody knows when the second consultation took place, who was invited. And what we did is that we wrote in 22nd July to the special Chapman.
How did you know? How did you know that has been approved?
Well, let me leave this open and let me not say it is approved, but let me say that we received information, but in order to verify the information, the best thing to do was to go to those who would have approved it. So we wrote to the physical planning officer at LADMA, the Spatial Planning Committee, the person who convened the 2019 meeting, to ask for information. It is on getting this information that we can confirm or otherwise the information that we have. And since we haven't received a reply, it is very difficult to tell you that actually this is the evidence that we have.
Mr. Chair.
But we do know as a fact that the part of cantonment, the part of Parks and Gardens, which borders the Italian embassy, the EPA came there to do some, what shall I say, some
environmental impact assessment.
Thank you very much, which is normally not done when an application has been refused. And what we did was that we went to everybody who was present during the 2009 consultation to find out if, unknown to us, another consultation meeting had taken place. Every single person we contacted said they are not aware of any meeting. The only one they know of was the one on 6 September 2019, when the application was declined. So this is the situation we find ourselves in. And we are so blessed to have you today. So maybe you might be able to guide us into finding out how to verify the information that a meeting took place after the meeting declining it, or one didn't take place. So what is the status of Parks and Gardens as we speak today?
I don't know whether that request has been approved, but we are aware of the application which came from Ministry of Local Government. But let me also tell you that Parks and Gardens is an agency under the Ministry of Local Government.
Very much aware of that, very much aware of that.
Yes, it came to our notice that they were going to approve that. But we also wrote to them because per the new act, the Act 925, the District Assembly cannot approve that. It is stated in the law that any public open space, if you want to do rezoning, it must go as far as to Parliament. Let me quote the right section of the Act to you. Section 93 of the Act. Section 93. Yes, subsection 4. It says,
right.
Yes, let me read it. Without limiting subsection 3, the change of use or rezoning of a public space shall be subjected to approval by Parliament. So when you get time, you go through that. So any area that has been earmarked as public open space, whether developed or not developed, there cannot be any rezoning until it goes all the way to Parliament.
That is a very, that's a bombshell, if I might put it that way. Because all of us know about public spaces that have been rezoned to building sites and where people have built on them, irrespective of even the rulings of courts. For example, there's the strip of land in East Legon, very famous, connecting the Flower Pot Road, which I'm sure you know about as well, but was litigated, and the courts ruled in favor of the residents who had wanted to protect it as a park space, and yet it was still built on. So what you're saying is a bombshell, but how can it be actually implemented on the ground?
You see, this is a new act. I know, I agree with you that we have several public open spaces that have been rezoned, maybe to residential or commercial or other facilities. But ever since this law came to being, we've had several issues with public space being rezoned, and whenever it comes to our notice, we write to them, drawing their attention to the provision of the act. Recently, this is assembly indicated that they've approved rezoning of part of Achimota Forest to be used for a different purpose, that government has issued part of the land to the original landowners to be developed into residential or eco park. We drew the attention to the provision of the act that the district assembly itself cannot rezone that area. They can only make recommendation, and that recommendation must go all the way to Parliament before it can be something that has been approved. And ever since, they were unable to move forward with their proposals. So it's something, even some of the district assemblies, either they are not aware of the provision of the act, but we've been trying to educate them on the provisions of the new act. So as long as it comes to our notice, we'll draw the attention that, no, you can't do that.
Right. So, Sister, if I may interject. So what we are saying is that maybe the local assemblies are not very conversant with the law, and that is why they might be acting the way they are. But what's of concern to us is, for example, because we are trying to be not hypothetical, but to take actual cases. In a situation where a meeting has been held, a consultation has taken place, no matter how flawed the consultation was, it has taken place, a decision has been taken, and then all of a sudden, it seems a second decision has been taken. If the citizens write the letter to the assembly and they are greeted with deafening silence, what would you think is the way forward? Who does one take the matter to at least give the residents the respect of a reply so that they know exactly what is going on?
Okay, the way forward is to write back to the district assembly and copy the regional coordinating council. Then draw the attention to this provision in the act to let them know that they don't have the mandate to approve it. They can only make recommendation, but the final approval resides with Parliament.
Can I also?
This provision, originally, this was not part of the bill that we proposed to go to Parliament. But when we went to Parliament, the parliamentarians were also concerned about the rezoning of public open spaces, rampant rezoning of public open spaces. So we all came to agreement that no, we need a provision that will bring that issue to a halt, because I remember they cited Adesiman Gardens in Kumasi, that when they were growing up, that area used to be gardens and students could go there and learn. Now you go there, everything is concrete. So this is the new provision. So I believe you can write and draw the attention to that.
And the address and everything will be in the bill, or where does one get the contact details, if I may ask?
Of what? Contact detail of what?
Of the regional coordinating committee.
Are you referring to Greater Accra region?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you may not need a poster. Just write the spatial planning the regional spatial planning committee, Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council.
Yes, and who do we take the letter to?
It should go to the chair, the secretary of the committee, who is the LUSPA regional rep. Or you can also go to the coordinating director. because the regional coordinating director is also a member of the committee, and the committee is chaired by the regional minister.
Right, Mr. Chapman.
Let's take it back to the cantonments part. So Awula Sewell was saying that a meeting was held, the application to rezone the park was denied at that meeting or sometime thereafter. But it appears there are little signs here and there that building work and the rezoning is still going to go on. That suggests that in all these examples, there's an element of political power broking that
Yes.
is taking place in between the letter of the law. Mr.
Yes, that is true. You see, imagine yourself being the director of Parks and Gardens. Maybe you were even appointed to become the director by the Minister for Local Government. And now your minister is saying that rezone this area so that we can put up our new office. It puts you in a certain tight corner. But you can also stand your grounds and say that no, because there are alternative sites that they could use for their office. Why should you go to Parks and Gardens alone? They even have land somewhere in this place on the Kumasi Accra Road, Abasaman area. So why should you want to force the building there and cut all the trees and all those things? I'm not sure they've received approval from the committee, but they are using the powers that be to bulldoze their way through to put up the building.
What is if I might ask, with the powers of the municipal chief executive, is he able to countermand the decision taken at the planning meeting of 6 September and unilaterally decide to give permission to the Ministry of Local Government to go ahead and construct the building, despite the fact that it was declined by the committee?
Not at all. He doesn't have that power. Even the law says that when they go for a committee meeting and they are unable to agree on issue, then it says when an issue appears before the committee, the law envisages that the approval should be by consensus. But where they are unable to reach consensus, they shouldn't even vote. The request should be sent back to the technical planning committee. That includes the physical planning officer, the engineer, and the EPA, for them to deliberate on it again and say if it cannot be approved or they need to make amendments. So the chief executive per the committee and the law does not have that authority at all.
Okay, thank you for that. I want to ask you a broad and specific question. The broad question is, the plan actually is something, an implementation of it is something that could create jobs for a lot of people in these local authorities. Do you see it that way as well? And if so, how would it work?
Yes. You see, if you look at a local plan, even though per the planning standard is not stated that this amount of space should be reserved for public open spaces, but by convention, 10% of the total land area should be reserved for public open spaces. But apart from the 10%, the other land uses that by their nature, if you implement them, it will also create additional public open spaces like the road network. You have the medians, you have the road shoulders, and even in your own plot, the parcel that you acquire to put up your residential building, the law says that you cannot develop 100%. You have to develop 70% and leave 30% or for open space. So all these public open spaces could be developed, could be given out to parks and gardens to be developed, and in a way they enhance the value of properties, and that can even earn the district assembly enough revenue, because in the law they have something they call betterment charges. If you perform activity and the activity improves the value of buildings, then you can place that betterment charges for the members of the community to pay as a tax.
So, okay, so you do see the plan as something that can actually improve the economies of the local communities. Today, for example, I took a walk through my neighborhood area in Teshi, around the Teshi military training area. And what did I see? I saw a lot of unauthorized building by civilians, maybe, or soldiers, but it was a total chaotic situation, a kind of a concrete slum with open sewers all over the place. Now, what I want to understand is the plan that you talked about at the regional and the district level, does it take into account these already existing urban conurbations, urban developments?
Yes, yes. When you are preparing a local plan for an area, that is why you need a base map. And in recent times, we don't even depend on the surveyors for the base map. We go for satellite imagery of the area or area photograph, so that we can see all the building footprint in that area. So we try as much as possible to save a number of them. But there are some areas that no matter what you do, some of the buildings must go because you need to create access. Each parcel or building must have access to a road. So where you don't have such situation, then you can earmark some buildings for to be demolished so as to create access. And that is normally what we do when we are preparing these schemes. So we don't take it that we are dealing with a virgin land where everything is green and we don't have anything. We take care of all those.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean, what you're saying is very interesting because I don't know when it has been done. So is there the political will to actually enforce? Because I see a lot of structures that are on green spaces that will not be according to your plans, but I can't recall when any building has been demolished because it was on a green space and there was no access, or what the situation you are describing.
There have been several instances where buildings have been demolished. I remember when I was even working in Kumasi.
Where in Accra, according to the plan, are there areas designated for parks? New parks and the old parks from previous plans. For example, I live in Lada de Kotopon. Does the plan indicate parks in at all?
I cannot give you that information because I was working in Kumasi before I was transferred to Accra. But when plans are approved, copies are not sent to the authority because the district assemblies themselves, they are planning authorities. So demand a copy of the local plan from your district assembly.
Okay, so that's where I would.
And on the plan, you see all the parks.
And who developed the plan? Was it developed by the LUSPA, the Spatial Planning Authority? Who developed the plan?
So the plan can be developed by the district assemblies themselves, like the Special Planning Committee, because the Physical Planning Office works directly for the Special Planning Committee. It can also be prepared by a private landowner, but it can be a working document when it's presented to the district assembly for them to go through and approve it. So once, even if it's prepared by a private entity, once it's approved by the district special planning committee, it becomes a public document.
Now, let me understand you clearly. Let's take a municipality like Lada de Kotopon as an example. It's a big area with, I'm sure, 100,000 or more population of different income groups and different needs. There's a military base, for example, Birmingham. So in an area like that, is there one big plan that indicates where residences and parks, etc., will be established, or are there several different plans?
Ideally, we should have had one plan to cover the entire district. That is what we call the structure plan. But that one will not give you the detailed parcels. You only see the broad land uses. So if it's for residential purpose, you see on the plan that these areas are reserved for residential, and it will be shaded brown for you to know that it's residential. So out of that, the next sequence or the next sequential level is the local plan. So once the structure plan has indicated that that area should be prepared for commercial use, then the meant the parcels, which we'll call the local plan. So within your district, you can have several of local plans emanating from the strata plan.
And Awula Sewa, have you seen a plan of your local area?
Unfortunately, I have not. And maybe what I need to do is follow the advice giving and demand to see one. I have asked and I have not yet got it, and I can do some more following up. What I do see happening is just a lot of chaotic development, and it doesn't seem to be a sense of an area being residential, or I'm talking about entirely residential. You have a residential area and the next day you wake up, structures are being put up. It's a shop, whether it's this, whether it's that, and the next minute you are told that it's now mixed use. So I think that in 2021, we have to understand the fact that you need to have residential areas because the needs are different. Noise levels are different in a commercial area, in a residential area. And that will make for a more, what shall I say, organized settlement. So I think there's a lot that one needs to look at and see that is done. But one thing that concerns me a lot is that I think we touched on it earlier, that for every so many people, we do need to have parks. And I think COVID has taught all of us the importance of having a place where you can breathe fresh air.